The Survival Horror Corner.
So, we're finally back, and today we're talking about good old-fashioned Zombie U. Now, I've been meaning to make a video on Zombie U for some time now, so why the hold off? Well, let me tell you, it's a really tasking game to play and beat. Now, I went into this thinking that it was an overlooked game and didn't get the credit it deserved, but playing through this almost twice now, I was wrong. Zombie isn't a bad game, but it being overlooked isn't really a mistake. I actually played this on the original platform, the Wii U, so I actually got to experience the way it was intended to play. Originally a launch game for the Wii U, was later ported to the PS4, Xbox One, and PC called Zombie. Now, the game radically changes with what version you play. We'll talk more in depth about that later, so for now, everything I'm basing this off of is the Wii U version. I'm calling it Zombie from now on because adding the U on the end makes me want to snuff it. Zombie is a confused game. It doesn't know what it wants to be, and neither do I. Its main job was to showcase the gamepad's little gimmicks, and to be quite frank, it does that part pretty well. The gamepad integration really is what sets it apart from most games. It functions with the mechanics of the game real swell, acting as your inventory, map, menu, and just about anything that isn't Aventane crumpets. The gamepad really adds another level of immersion most games can't inherently have without it. Using it feels convenient in most cases. I'm not saying it's better than traditional controls, but feels entangled enough to put you in the game. Switching between weapons is fast, and you quickly develop the muscle memory just to tap on the screen where your hotkey is located. One part I honestly didn't like, oddly enough, was the aiming with the sniper scope. I like the idea, think Fatal Frame 5, but the execution was clumsy. To use the scope, you just bring the gamepad up to your face. Wow. I really like the concept, but something about it was really awkward to use. As a Wii U gamepad showcase, does a pretty damn good job. As a game, no. It's boring, drab, and just not fun to play. It has really sound mechanics, but it's too busy being confused if it wants to be a survival horror game, an open world action game, or this weird survival horror action RPG hybrid. So the not hardware gimmick is the permadeath. With the explosion of super realistic zombie survival games birthed by DayZ comes the wave of copycats. While Zombie might not be an exact clone, it borrows heavily from it. The standard mode, where each character permanently dies, but progress is not lost. This already makes no sense. Like I was saying, it just doesn't know what it wants. What's the point of changing a character upon death? Let me tell you. To make a guy feel really distorted. The other mode is the survival mode, in which there is actual permadeath. Once you die, the game ends. This mode feels more in line with what they were going for, but it just doesn't fit with being an awfully long game with shitty insta-deaths. I'm assuming they meant this to be a second playthrough challenge, but
Why would anyone play this again?
because I fucking hate myself. Even on a good day, the story is boring at best. The permadeath just kind of turns into a vapid selling point that is utterly pointless. So when the game's not being more confused than a God-fearing closet homo watching Magic Mike, it does manage to do some shit right. Whew, them controls though. Inarguably, if you're a normal person, all first-person shooters play best with a mouse. Joysticks just don't allow for precise aiming, but you can still do good aiming on a controller. This is not one of those games. Take an already abysmal joystick on the gamepad and just add an awful layer of sluggishness and unresponsiveness that just makes aiming feel fucking atrocious. Like, I'll take into consideration that I'm not really good at aiming on a controller, but this just takes it to a whole new level of bad controls. Aiming feels sad. So other than frustrating the ever-living hell out of me not being able to headshot almost anything in the game, it does live up to actually being a survival horror game. You can't take a lot of damage, the combat, oh boy. The zombies have the ability to instantly kill you, and if you're playing on survival, it means all your progress is lost upon death. Talk about raising the fucking stakes. Combat is almost always a bad choice and also raises the chances of even more randomly spawning enemies. What is one to do? The little old technique of running around them. Oh yeah! Fuck. Small correction, it almost lives up to being a survival horror game. It's got the ideas, really limited ammo, de-emphasized combat, manual saving, and super dangerous enemies. So what things are stopping it from fulfilling its destiny?
It's just clashing on all kinds of levels. What do you want to be, zombie? I can't actually use stealth, there's no crouch option. Killing zombies seems to be the best bet once you get some ammo on you. There's this whole upgrade system and a plethora of weapons. Which one do you want? Do you want to give me all these cool guns and a single fucking melee weapon, but then leave all these sneaky vents around? No real special enemy types, except for electric type zombies, which...
What?
I think they were going for that like Dishonored thing where you choose your own playstyle, and granted it almost works, but really, none of them work well. The game is just limp. It has ambitions, but was rushed for Wii U launch or something. It's just this weird fucking Frankenstein of games. Like Dying Light's a mishmash of all kinds of games, but Dying Light is fun. This game was a drag. No characters, pretentious dialogue, lame story, fucking retarded set pieces. The guy literally tells you it's a fucking setup, and you still go there! Didn't see that coming. Awful fucking graphics and art. And actually, before I continue rattling off bad things, let's talk about the graphics.
This game is one ugly bastard.
The textures are awful, 720p resolution, 30 frames a second with drops, chromatic aberration, which I still don't get why games have this option, since in cinema, it's almost always considered a flaw of the lens, but I digress. This fucking horrendous vignette of just filth around the screen. The zombies just sound and look fucking silly. Is that fucking Angry Joe? Oh my god! They put Angry Joe in this game! This is just too fucking funny. The random characters just look fucking disgusting.
Oh yeah, I'd quite like playing as Margaret Thatcher Nightingale Crenshaw, you limey bastard, you.
Let's strike the heart of the problems in this game right now. This game is so dull. The ugly, and I mean fucking ugly graphics, stiff aiming controls, silly sounds, piss poor art design, and just sloppy execution. The story just fails on almost every level to engage or hook me. Like, I really didn't know what's going on. Some guy named the Prepper helps you survive, then later gets really fucking butthurt that you worked with a doctor to find a cure because trying to do something is...
Wrong? Correct. Oh, thanks.
Something to do with Dee's prophecies.
More like D's nuts.
Finally, the end comes along just to confuse the ever-living fuck out of me. With constant changing characters and just weird pace of the game, let me tell ya, I literally don't know what to make of it. The Prepper is some doomsday nut that is upset you helped the doctor create a vaccine. You just end up being everyone's little bitch like in Dead Space. Even reading the Wikipedia page about the plot just bores me. After glancing at the plot overview, I still think this plot, in tandem with what I picked up while playing the game, is just lame.
This game is just not fun. It boils down to just not fun to play. It's not replayable, it's not rewarding, and it's just a fucking chore. On survival, it's a lot more intense because even one wrong move can be the end of the game, but I don't know about you, but this isn't remotely good enough to try getting through 80% of the game only to get one-shotted. So, let's talk about that PC port. This is where shit gets really bollocks.
Since the Wii U is the Wii U, they decided, let's try making this on a console people actually own. So like 100 years later, they released it on this generation of consoles, which, I had to reduce the volume for this part, still can't manage 1080p 60 frames a second on a fucking ugly Wii U game! As I was saying, the game is dramatically different depending on if you actually play Zombie U or Zombie. Why?
Cause at least the gamepad makes it a lot more interesting.
So what happens when you play the PC version? Well, first and foremost, you get a 12 times more playable game. You can aim, which is nice. No slowdown, which is always a plus. 60 frames a second? Nope. The gamepad might be utilized well, but that doesn't mean it's better. Hotkeys are mapped 1 through 4, so literally less than an inch above where my fingers already are. They sped up the melee, which is super useful now. Crazy enough, the game goes from being really difficult on the Wii U to stupidly easy on the PC. Pro tip, to literally be unstoppable is when the zombies are in a state of getting up like some magical force is lifting them. All you have to do is just nudge them, and they fall right back down. In fact, I kind of feel like a monster doing this. Makes me feel like a bully the way I push around these helpless zombies.
You take that, you cocksucker. I should have worn a
So, what happens? I'll tell you, making the game even more formal made me realize something. How fucking bland and boring the core of the game is. It's so boring. Is it a bad game? No, not really. It's just a painfully unimpressive one. Nothing really sets it apart from any other first-person shooter zombie game these days. Sure, I'd classify this as a survival horror game, but not a very good one. You're better off playing the ample amount of zombie survival games already on Steam.
It's not a bad game, it's just not a very good game. I'd recommend this to, crazy enough, some survival horror fans. I mean, at its very core, it is a survival horror game. And if anything I said sounds like it might be interesting to you, then it might be worth a really cheap price with that Steam summer sale coming up at 10 bucks. This might be worth your time. For me though, I went into it with a really like, oh, this game's gonna be really overlooked. It's a survival horror game, they just don't get it, but I don't know. I would just give this game a very unenthusiastic That's really just all I can muster up out of it in its overall presentation. I'm just like, PC port, a little better, still, So, until next time, we're returning to the roots of the show. I'll be ready for some more Resident Evil Online.
Hey baby, you wanna be down here with me?